Louella, Tutauha.
Yep.
What was your maiden name?
Chambers.
Chambers.
That's plain.
Yeah, that's plain.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's quite a famous name in New Zealand, I think. Chambers.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for coming on this. We've got a bit more time. I think you've shared a couple of times, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. And now we can just sort of relax and take a bit more time. But, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Can't wait till Tom actually, Tom comes on too.
Tom shared?
No.
Never?
No.
Oh, this is the call out, Tommy.
Yes.
So good.
That'd be good.
Yeah,
So, how's life at the moment? How you going?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. We still got all the children at home. So it's been good. A lot of busyness. So a lot of people coming in and out all the time.
2 teenagers,
Yep.
2 young adults.
Yep.
Wow.
Done a good job, Lou.
Yeah.
All because of Jesus, for sure.
Yeah, come on.
Definitely
So-
needed him.
Living on the Gold Coast, how many years?
13 years, I think.
And before
12,
that?
12 years. Before that, we were in Sydney for 15 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yep.
And from New Zealand.
Yep. I came straight from New Zealand, from Dunedin,
Okay.
South Island. I moved
And
over.
you met Tom here?
Yes, in
Okay.
Sydney.
So, Dunedin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Otago,
But we've heard about Dunedin.
Highlanders.
Lehman was born up in Dunedin.
The
yeah.
university town.
Yeah.
Yes. Scarfies.
Scarfies.
Oh.
Spades.
Yep.
Yeah.
Up to Spates.
That's a beer.
That's where it all started.
Type
Okay.
of beer. It's sort of like
Educating me.
a
Yeah.
Scarfy town. Purple was sort of the colour of the beer, I think.
So scarfies like suits.
No.
kind of.
No. They
No.
were called Scarfies, people that went to uni.
Yeah,
Uni
yeah,
students, yeah.
Yeah, kind of like the.
But it was cold down there, so
Ah,
I'd be
okay.
surprised.
The scarfies are like the stiff upper class
Yep.
sort of. Yeah, nice.
Yep.
I'm with you.
Yep, definitely.
Scarfies.
So there was only 5 Māoris in our school.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh wow.
that was it.
So grew up there until what age?
So I left there when I was 23.
Wow. Okay. So 23 years, brought up in Dunedin. Did you go to
No, I
uni?
actually went, my father was in the army, so we moved
Oh,
all
yeah.
over.
Okay.
And I think we moved to Dunedin when I was in, which would be classified as year 3 maybe, year 7 here.
Oh, okay.
So 3rd form.
Oh, yeah.
Did you become a scarfie?
No.
So moving around, that's a pretty tough gig, right?
Yeah.
Because friendships would be very shallow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I started school kindy in Linton military camp, and I met one of my best friends there, Christina, and we've been friends ever since.
Oh, mean.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
so
cool.
she's 3 days older than me.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're still friends to this day.
Oh,
And it was
that's neat.
kindy in the military camp.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That's
Yeah.
Wow.
some obedient kids in there.
Oh, some obedient kids
Yeah.
for sure.
we won't tell the story about your awesome dad, Koko.
Yeah.
That's probably another story.
Yeah.
But yeah, how that came about. But yeah, tell us sort of growing up, was there a God consciousness or
Yeah, there was. My grandmother was a Seventh-day Adventist. So she pretty much prayed for us,
wow.
all of us, all the time.
Your grandma prayed for you?
Yes. So I actually was brought up a little bit with my grandparents. So I went and lived with them when I was about 3.
Yeah.
So with my parents being in the army, they sort of moved around a lot. But my mum gave me to my grandparents for a little bit. And, yeah, she took me to Sunday school all the time.
Wow, so
Yeah.
Sundays, and you were the only child that did that?
Yeah, so
Okay.
myself and one of my first cousins, Michael, we spent a lot of time with her, so she would take us to church on the Saturday,
Wow.
and then I went to sort of preschool, if they want to call it that. I went to preschool in Waitara, because that's where they lived, in New Plymouth. And then I went back to my parents when we moved to Waiuru.
Right.
Mm.
So that's pretty impressionable. The God stuff at a really young age, eh?
Yep.
Did that stick with you?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
And then when they passed away, when my grandmother passed away, I was pretty sore about that, and I sort of blamed God for that,
Yeah.
for taking her away. So that was it.
Wow.
My parents never took us to church or anything
Right.
like that. Just, Christmas Mass.
So when your grandma died, so did your relationship with God type thing?
Yeah.
Is that fair or?
Yeah, well, my acknowledgement of him.
Okay.
Yeah.
God seems to take away good things.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So then you're in Dunedin, growing up there. What's life like there? Just
Yeah, it was pretty
sport.
awesome. Lots of sport.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played a lot of reps, netball, basketball, softball.
Come on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But mainly in netball. So I was in Otago seniors for about 5 years.
Wow.
Went to nationals and things like that. Played with Leslie Nichols, like a lot of the Silver Ferns. I suppose I was sort of on that way as well. And then I left and went to Sydney, moved
Wow.
to Sydney.
Why?
And why did I move
Why'd
there?
you move?
I was in a 9-year relationship with a young English boy.
Wow.
For a while, yeah, and
9 years.
moved
That's
there
quite a while.
to get away from all the riff-raff in life. Yeah.
Really?
Did that end before moving?
Yeah, I pretty much told him I was moving to Sydney and broke it off.
And that's why you moved to Sydney? You needed a way out?
Yeah,
Or?
I think I was just in a rut,
Right.
and my family also sort of said to me, gave me an idea, you should go and have a look at the world, try something new, and so I did.
So 9 years. So when did you start this relationship?
I was 14.
Wow.
Mm.
Was he a bit older or?
No, we were the same age in school
Wow.
together. Yeah.
That's pretty intense.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
So then 23 moved to Sydney by yourself.
By myself. Yeah.
You had some friends here
I
or?
had my cousin who lived in Bulldogs country,
Ooh.
Bankstown, Lakemba.
Ooh.
So yeah, became a
Blue and white.
doggies fan hard.
Still?
Yeah,
Yeah, hard up.
we'll get there.
Yeah. Wow, okay.
Mm.
That's a pretty big risk. You seem to have stability in Dunedin, even though the relationship's probably not great or great, I don't know,
Yeah,
but
no, it wasn't great.
yeah. So then, wow, from a little town Dunedin
Yeah.
to Sydney.
Yeah.
How did that go?
God's
still just not really.
No, God was not there.
Yeah.
Yeah, not at all.
You're living the life, like sport
Yeah.
and everything that goes with that, I suppose.
Yeah, well, I left school and I went straight into a law firm as a PA, and was earning good money. And then when I moved to Sydney, I thought, I'll go and try a law firm in the main street of Sydney, and I did. I got in. It was quite a big law firm in Sydney, quite well known. So I went. It was funny. I went from 23,000 New Zealand dollars a year to 36,000 Australian in 1 month.
Wow.
Yeah,
So you're like, yo, let's
Yeah.
go.
let's go.
And did you play netball over here as well? Like start down that track or?
Well, I was actually asked to go and trial for what would have been back then probably the South Wales Swifts, Sydney Swifts.
Okay.
Sorry. And ride and
Oh,
trial in there in the city. But because the Bankstown train line was pretty scary, my cousin said I wasn't allowed to go.
Oh, hey.
No,
Yeah.
fair call.
Yeah, because
Fair
our
call.
trainings were quite intense.
What do you know about Sydney?
Well, you're not going to Bankstown on your own as a girl?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
So my cousin said, no, you're not going in there. So you can give that away.
Wow.
Yeah, so I actually gave it away for a little bit and just joined a local,
Local
Kiwi Kiwi team called Hui Mai. And
Who am I?
we're pretty good. Yeah,
Oh, Hui.
Hui Mai. So we were pretty good. We were in the in the high league there as well, playing as just a bunch of Kiwi girls.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're not you got a good job, playing sport you're loving, got community in the sport sector,
Early 20s.
early 20s, loving life.
Yeah. For sure.
How's it going for you?
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Mm.
And what then? What?
And then the next year, I met Tom.
Oh,
Yeah, in a backyard of a mate's house at a hangi.
wow. Deep bulldog territory.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You
I'm
used
a
to go for the
Sharky.
Sharks, man.
Oh, class all the way.
At least it's not the Warriors. You know, the Bulldogs have won
Yeah.
before.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
They won that year actually that I met.
Oh,
Tom.
true.
Yeah.
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 Wow.
That's
So you,
solidified the team, eh?
Yeah.
That's us.
it.
Yeah,
so you
nice.
looked across the backyard of the hangi and
Yeah.
love at first sight
Yeah,
for Tom.
it was actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I saw him and thought, wow, he looks like a lovely young man. And it was funny because my dad's got an identical twin, and he lived in Wanganui, where Tom was from.
Oh wow.
Oh,
So he
Tom's
actually-
from Wanganui.
Yeah, so he actually thought my dad was the twin.
Oh wow.
So he made his way across to speak to my dad, and I thought he was, oh, here we go, you know, because he must have known that it was my father, and he was probably trying to, you know, get some
Sweet
good
talk.
words, yeah. But yeah, then I found out that he actually knew my uncle very well.
Wow.
Whoa.
Mm,
That's amazing.
yeah.
So how did that form that relationship pretty quick?
Oh yeah, my dad loved him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
Straight away.
Still to this day, he hasn't told you the truth, but he is just much smarter than anyone realised.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's good.
And so you got married and had kids and
No,
no?
we didn't. I was a bit of a party animal, so just we're in relationship. For I think it was 7 years
Wow.
before we actually got married. So we actually had Maddie and Trent first, and then we decided to get
Oh,
married.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, I didn't really have any influence of God or anything through that time period. It was a bit of a low period actually. A lot of demons came up, I suppose, in that time. I drank a lot. And I think, yeah, I sort of lost my way a little bit during that time. Had a lot of money, so I was a gambler.
Hey.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
a compulsive gambler. Raked up a lot of debt, hid a lot of things from Tom during that time in my late 20s. When I was pregnant with Maddie and Trent, I was always like the sober driver, and everyone would just sort of give me money, and so I'd be in the pokey room playing pokies.
Wow. Waiting for them to finish there.
Yeah, and then I'd drive them home. I was happy.
Is that how the gambling started?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I moved from Dunedin and moved there, and I'd never seen any of that sort of stuff before. And my cousin who I was living with, they were members at the Canterbury Bulldogs Club, playing squash there, and so that was inevitable. Like that that's what everyone did. Just went and played pokies.
Wow.
So I raked up a big debt, lots of
Yeah.
credit cards.
You never win, eh?
Did you ever have a big win?
Oh, I always had big wins, but then you lose it all.
Yeah, yeah. After spending. Yeah. Wow.
Wow. And so this money you were getting from driving, hanging out with your friends, Tom didn't know about that.
No, he
So-
was there.
Oh, he was there.
Yeah.
He was one of the friends.
He was one of the friends.
Here, you can drive us,
Yeah.
bub.
Yeah.
I want to go home. Here's $20. Go back into the pokies.
Well, he actually got on really well with my brother-in-law,
Right.
my sister's husband,
Yeah.
or at that time partner. And so, yeah, we did a lot of drinking and stuff together. Always did a lot of things together.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, Tom was one of the friends.
Wow.
And
Okay.
so I was the sober driver.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so you're going down this track. I mean, it's inevitable where it ends.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't end well
No.
down that track.
No.
How far down did you go before it was sort of, man, something needs to change? Like,
So I think our debt at that stage, our total debt with a car as well was 75,000.
oh, that's heavy. That's heavy. But what
Yeah.
was that in your mind? Just like, nah, I'll win it, or
I was going to bed hearing the music, the sound of the machines.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd wake up and I'd hear the sound. I'd go to work. Lunchtime, I'd go to the bar down the road. Yeah, it was pretty dark. And then I would, as long as the rent was paid, that was about it. And
didn't care for much else.
we were both earning a lot of money, and I was spending a lot of it.
Wow.
What was the attraction to it? Because it's
Yeah.
were you trying to win big? Do you reckon, or was it?
Well, I suppose where I am now, after being through a lot of counselling, a lot of healing and restoration, I look back now and I had deep-seated issues with back then abuse. So
Yeah.
I think the control of
Control.
thinking that I had control
Wow.
and no one else could control me, that's what did it. Yeah.
Wow.
It's crazy how it comes out, hey, in different ways.
Wow. So, what was so at this time you're gambling at lunchtime, your work time, and but then you've also drinking and what else, like
Smoking.
smoking,
Yeah. I was a pretty heavy smoker.
few attachments there, eh?
Yeah.
And it doesn't get it never diminishes, eh?
No.
It always wants more.
Oh yeah, for
Hey,
sure.
so a drink, no, I want another one.
Yeah.
Smoke, I want another one. It never is like, oh, nah.
And it's the same with the gambling. Actually, it's the gambling. Like you win, and that's not it.
No.
You're not done until everything's gone,
Mm.
and then you're like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
It's a very weird thing, because I struggle with the pokies and gambling.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so, how old are Trent and Maddie at this stage?
They were 1 and 2.
Mm.
Yeah. Maybe 2 and 3. Because I sort of stopped around the 30 mark when I was 30. Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so Tom and I had actually broken up about 6 months prior.
Oh,
Oh wow.
Yeah, so
did he move out?
Yep.
Wow.
he moved out by his older brother. But yeah, there was a few things that went on. His brother assaulted me. Drinking was a really bad thing.
Yeah.
You lose control of everything, and you don't actually know how other people feel about you, or you don't intend anything, but other people take it a different way. So
It's the worst legalized drug, I reckon.
yeah, And so, because of that, I asked him to leave our home, and so Tom ended up leaving as well. At that time, there was a lot of, obviously, trust issues just around money and
Wow.
everything. Yeah. So I moved back in with my parents, with Maddie and Trent, and he lived with his older sibling in Sydney, in the city. Yeah. And so we were separated for 6 months.
Wow.
And then he felt to sort of make things work and realised, maybe the error of his ways. I'm not sure, but I can't speak for him how he was feeling back then. I don't think we've ever actually talked about it and
I
gone
look
back.
forward to.
Yeah.
How were you feeling at the time, though?
I was.
Was it? So,
I was
were you
upset.
thinking?
I was angry.
Were you hoping that you would be together, or
Reconciliation,
you?
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then we moved back together, and I think there was we needed to get away from my family, who we'd pretty much relied on a lot of the time, my parents. And so he.
Oh, had they
found a
moved
place.
over?
Yeah.
Okay.
They
cool.
moved over in 95, end
Okay.
of 95.
Yeah.
Or just before I met Tom, they moved over.
Okay.
And so I lived with them.
Yeah.
And then we sort of moved out, went away on our own, and then I moved back in. So he found a place for us by his brother's place, and we moved in there together. And I think I was pretty mean to him, because I was like, well, you're going to really regret that you broke up with me. So there was still that hidden agenda for me, was like, okay, well, he's going to make sure that he, will win me back. So I remember the place that we went to look at, I didn't like the colour of the inside of the home. It was like a peachy colour. And I said to him, okay, we'll move in, but you have to paint the whole inside a lighter colour. And so he did.
Wow.
He asked the owners if he could repaint it, and they were happy. So he repainted the whole inside of the house.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tom.
Yeah, Tom.
Yeah. And
So
and
God's still not in the picture.
no,
Okay.
still not in the picture.
Wow.
And we were living in that place for, I think, 3 or 4 months, and then I met our neighbour. So our neighbour was an Aussie family, and they were pot smokers. They were drinkers and gamblers as well. So,
Wow. Oh
so
my
it was
gosh.
inevitable. I became one of her good mates, and so that's what I did. And I would do that after work, go over to her place and drink and smoke and everything else. And
So Mads and Trent are still.
yeah, they're still young, 3 and 2.
Wow.
And they had a daughter, so we would do things together with the children, with their daughter, and the kids were happy. They were happy kids, Maddie and Trent. So I always made sure that they were, taken care of. But then later on, I would be drinking, or when Tom got home, I would go over the neighbours. Yeah, so I was living recklessly, really, as a mum. And then this whole thing, the hurt from before with what happened with his brother, it was like a cycle. It would come around, and then we would argue and fight. And then we'd be back like, I'm sorry, and then it was a vicious cycle. And then one night, we were in so much debt. I was drunk, wasted, and Tom came home from work early, and it was about, I think, 1 a.m.
You came from homework.
He came from work
early.
came
1 in the
home.
morning.
He's doing night shift.
Yeah,
Oh,
he was doing a lot of different shifts, and he came over. I'd put Maddie and Trent to bed at the house, and those monitors.
oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I used to take the monitor with me to the neighbours all the time.
That's what they were made for, isn't it?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, but the kids were brilliant kids. They were loving and happy. So yeah, I put them to bed, went over the neighbours, and Tom came home early, and the house was dark with the kids in there and no mum. So he came over and was very kind. He said, "Oh, it's time for Lou to come home." Took my arm and took me home, and then he just said to me, "It's time for this to stop." He made me go into the bathroom and stand in front of the mirror and look at myself, and asked me, did I like what I saw?
Wow.
Is that the type of mum I wanted to be for Maddie and Trent? And it was a big awakening, because I didn't like what I saw. I never actually looked in the mirror at myself looking like that before. And so
Did you were you prideful at that point, or were you pretty broken at that point?
I was pretty wasted, but
Oh, okay.
I think I woke up pretty quick, because it was actually the first time I actually looked at myself wasted. And I remember just looking at my eyes, and I thought, you know what? This isn't the type of mum that I want to be.
Where's your soul? Wow.
Yeah. And so he said to me, okay, so we're just going to go in and sit by the kids. I had 2 king single beds, and there was a bit of a gap between the middle of them, and he said, I want you to go in there. Don't wake them up. I want you to go in and just sit with them. And then he goes, I'm going to bed. I've got to get up early and go back to work in the morning. And cried myself to sleep.
Therapist Tom.
Yeah, jeez.
Yeah.
Coming up with a strategy.
Yeah, so I'm like, man, how did he?
How did he know this stuff?
I don't know.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so he got up to work the next day.
And I woke up because I had obviously slept on the floor between the kids. And I woke up and just realised, I think everything came to a head. Like, I thought about my whole past, everything that had happened in my life up till then. And I just thought, how am I going to get out of this? Like, I felt shame. I felt guilt. I felt ugly. And so I was like, okay, what am I going to do? So I just got the children up, got Maddie and Trent up, got them changed and everything, showered, and got them lunch, like just the normal routine. And then I put them to bed. I remember it was about 1:30. And I remember going upstairs into my room, and I was on the computer. I just was like wasting time. And I saw this ad come up on my screen, and it was Hillsong Church. There was an ad in the top right corner. And I clicked on it, and I just spent I think it was an hour and a half just looking at their website, looking at testimonials.
What the heck?
Yeah, and then I saw that they had a service that day. It was a Sunday at 5 o'clock. And I just felt, I want to go. Yeah, this real burn in my heart, I want to go. And so I messaged Tom at work, and I said, hey, there's a church just down the road called Hillsong. Would it be okay if we go? And straight away he messaged me back, and he goes, yes. Yeah, and we found ourselves there at that church. At 5.
Waterloo.
At Waterloo. And we put Maddie and Trent into the kids area, and
Oh, they would have been frothing, yes.
they just loved it.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning.
That was literally the day after you sit down at the computer
Yeah.
and you look at that.
Yeah.
Man, that must have rocked you, whatever happened that night. Like with you sitting there and looking at yourself and
Yeah, it did.
wow.
And so I went to the service and gave my life to Christ.
The first one.
Yeah. Casey Treat was preaching.
Let's go.
And he shared his testimony, and it
Yeah.
was like mine. I was like, wow. I remember seeing everyone raising their hands, and I was feeling a bit weird, but I couldn't help but I just cried. I cried the whole time I was there, and I couldn't stop it, and I was sort of like embarrassed, but yeah, and gave my life to Christ that night, and it was history. The rest is history. Changed my life forever. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
In that one moment, I remember we ran up the front. Like Thomas just looked at me, put his hand out, and we ran up the front, and he said, "This is how you can meet Jesus." And so he took us through the prayer, and I remember thinking, wow, I can't believe that you would do that for me. And it changed me straight away. Like it was like all the shame, the guilt, everything just lifted. I felt it was the lightest I'd ever felt. And for that moment I felt like it was just me and him in this world.
Wow.
Nothing else. And that's when our journey started. 21 years ago.
Wow. I love that. Oh. Yeah.
So it was quite out of it, because in 2 weeks, like in that moment, like no smoking, like he took the smoking from me. I've been smoking for 17 years.
Ooh.
And straight away gone. I was so interested to know who Jesus was that I just went hard reading my Bible. And I was like, every moment I got, I'd put the children down, I'd be reading the Bible.
Wow.
We had discipleship in the church on 2 nights of the week. So
RDGs.
yeah. And so we
Faith Works, probably. Faith
it
Works
was-
back then.
it was amazing.
Yeah.
And before we knew it, I had stopped smoking. I didn't drink. I didn't want to drink.
Did Tom ever believe before this?
Yes. So before I met him, before he moved to Sydney, he was actually fellowshipping at a church in Gisborne.
Nice.
Yeah.
Man,
An
I
apostolic church.
can't wait to hear his side of the story. Was
Yeah.
he praying like that night that he sat you down, or?
Oh, I'm not sure, but I do know, like he did say to me later that when he moved over and he flew over in the plane, that he actually prayed and asked God to give him a wife that loved Jesus and
Wow.
loved him.
Wow.
And I said, and then you met me? Didn't look that way. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Pretty amazing. So I think when I said to him, look, there's a church down the road, and straight away he said yes, I think he knew.
And you knew he loved you because he painted the house.
Yes.
So you're like, oh, this guy loves me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that wasn't it. So how did it work with the neighbours? Like there still would have been pressure from them or not really? Or
Well, no, I just didn't go there.
Wow.
Um,
Amazing.
I didn't go over. Like when we did though, it was just for lunches and things. So there was no alcohol involved or anything.
Wow.
Yeah. Actually, I didn't even think of that. They must have thought, oh, what's happened here? I didn't go over to drink, so I didn't go over at night.
Wow.
I stayed at home with the kids. But we invited her to their birthdays and things.
Yeah, sure.
Their
Because the
daughter.
daughter's friends, right? Yeah.
And she actually worked in a jeweler's, and she was the one that got our wedding rings
Oh,
for
awesome.
us.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
so then you got married after that.
Got married. Yeah.
And what was that? That wasn't a rule from the church, was it?
No, actually. So a lot happened. We were at Hillsong Church for 6 months, and then a friend of Tom's, they were moving back to New Zealand, and they owned a home in Kashula, which is inner southwest. And so they asked us if we would live in their home for them.
Wow.
And so we did. So we moved from the city, from Shifley, all the way out to Kashula, and we lived in their home. And so we changed churches because it was too far to travel. And that's where we started going to a Kiwi church run by a Māori family, and the pastor was a female.
Yeah.
And so we started fellowshipping there, and that's where, we had a lot of love from family and things. And the Holy Spirit was, really working in him and I. I had a really good spiritual mum that I met there. Actually, had a few spiritual mums there. But they were teaching me how to be an intercessor.
Nice.
So I would go with them a lot and just go away with them and pray and things. So, my love for that was pretty huge. The kids loved being in church. And then, the Holy Spirit spoke to me one night. We were both about to go to sleep, and I sat up and I said to him, "Oh, I need to talk to you." He's like, "Oh, yeah." And he was sort of on his side. And I said, "Oh, we need to get married." And he's like, "Yep." And I go, "No, like, we can't do this anymore." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" He said, "We've already got Maddie and Trent." I go, "I know." And I said, "But you have to go and sleep in the spare room until we get married." And he was so grumpy. He goes, "What?" And I said, "Yeah, you have to go." And he was very upset.
This is Louella's therapy.
And he stormed out. He went out, slammed the door, and I was like, "Please, Holy Spirit, please speak to him." And then the next morning, he knocked on the door and said, "Okay, we need to get married.
Whoa.
Can you make an appointment with the pastor today?" Yeah. So it was 10 weeks before we actually got married.
Wow.
But we abstained from everything, even holding hands or even kissing.
Wow.
It was amazing. God is amazing.
Far out.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And like, what an amazing picture, because I know your family from after all that, and I look at your family now.
Yeah.
You're Trent and Maddie are like worship leaders in our community.
Wow.
Amazing. Yeah. And then the other two kids are kicking goals as well in their own way.
Yeah.
What's it like to be where you are now?
Yeah. I'm so grateful. Like this morning when we came in here and you said that God is so kind, like that has been the lifeline for me, is his kindness. And I think that's shaped me as a mum, to be full of kindness. And Tom is patient and I'm kind.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we've been able to allow the children to grow and to make mistakes. And you never stop going on as a mum. But,
So how did the move to Gold Coast happen? So you've been in Sydney, your life's turned around.
Yep.
Like God's really moving in your heart.
Yep.
Why Gold Coast? Why Queensland? How did that happen?
Yeah. Well, we were happy there for sure.
Yeah.
We lived. I lived around the corner from my sister.
Wow.
All the kids went to school together. They walked to school because it was just around the corner.
Awesome.
Tom worked in the same suburb. He just used to walk to work as well. We were, I was a stay-at-home mum. I was looking after everyone. we loved our home that we lived in. And, out of the blue, I was invited to my sister's 21st up here, my half-sister. And so I came up here for 5 days. And while I was here, I don't know, I just felt like, oh yeah, I'm just here for my sister's 21st. I'll just have fun and meet up with some of my friends. And some of my friends that lived here, they went to church at Church One in Helensvale. So I went to that service on the Sunday and I flew out on the Monday, the next day. But while I was there, I caught up with a friend of mine from school, and I actually named Maddie because I thought she was going to be a boy and I was going to call her Matthew after my best mate, Maddie. And so I ended up at his place with his wife, and they were sharing with me her business that she had here on the coast, and she was a contracted cleaner for some very nice homes in Sovereign Island, and she had quite big contracts. And anyway, I went home after that trip, and then I got a phone call from Maddie, and he said to me, hey, he goes, Maria really loves you. And I go, oh, yeah. And he goes, and she's just been offered another contract, and she wants to know if you would like to take over her previous one so she can do this one. And I was like, really? And he was like, yeah, she trusts you. And I said, okay, so when do I need to be there by? And he goes, like yesterday. And
Wow.
I said, Maddie, you know what? I go, I'm going to have to talk to Tom. We're going to have to pray about it because he's not a Christian at all, doesn't understand all of that. But he did say to me, of course, you do what you need to do. So I said to Thomas, Bub, this is what's happened. He's like, okay. And I said, should we pray about it? He's like, all right then. So we stood in the lounge room and we just prayed. And that night I had, I'd been at Bible college with C3, and we were having our graduation night that next night. And so I went to it, and while we were there, one of the lecturers prayed for me. And when I'd visited this church in Church One on that Sunday, they gave me this booklet, and it was their vision for the year. And on the front cover was this beautiful picture of a plant, this 3D view of a plant being planted, and it had roots going down. You could see this plush earth, and then there was green grass, blue sky in the background. And anyway, I'm being prayed for, and she turns around and says to me, oh, God's going to do something with you very soon. Like, I see this shoot going deep down into this beautiful, lush earth, blue sky in the background, and he's taking you somewhere to plant you.
Wow.
And I just bawled my eyes out because I saw the picture, and I knew straight away that we were to go. Because Tom and I prayed that, Lord, if it's meant to be that we go, we'll trust you, and you have to provide a way. And we received a cheque in the mail that covered the payment of our move.
What?
To put all our furniture in a truck and come up. He provided everything and made a way. So we decided, okay, that's it. And we were here in 8 weeks.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, we left everything. Moved.
Wow, that's amazing.
And Tom at the time was working for Centrelink, and so he took 12 months leave without pay. He opened doors, man. We got a house here on the Gold Coast with no jobs because I didn't have a job yet. I was coming up for it.
Yeah.
Thomas didn't have a job. So we totally trusted the Lord. And, we moved into this place, and then I unpacked our whole house, Tom and I, and that was on a Thursday. And I was ready to start work on the Monday. Started working with my friend, and she showed me everything. And then on the Friday, she came to our front door and said, "Oh, I've got your pay." And she was crying. I was like, "Is everything okay?" She said, "I'm so sorry. I've lost the contract." So, and it was right in that moment that I heard the Holy Spirit say to me, "She didn't bring you here. They didn't bring you here. I brought you here. And I'm going to take care of you." And so I released her and I said, "Don't be upset. It's okay." She goes, "But you just left everything to come here for this." I go, "It's okay." I said, "God just told me that he's going to take care of us, so it's okay."
Yeah, whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I
Yeah.
love that. What would you say, you know, maybe to someone in a married situation or relationship that's struggling as we close, but they're struggling, what would you just word of encouragement for them? You know, maybe
Yeah.
there's attachments, might not be marijuana or drinking, gambling, it might be something else.
Yes.
The relationship's not great. What would you say? Or maybe they've even been separated for a period of time. Yeah, what's from your point of view an encouragement?
Yeah. So I think you have to look inward. Like you have to look at yourself, not anyone else, but yourself, and really ask yourself, are you true to yourself? Is this the type of person you want to be?
Wow.
Is this the type of life you want to continue in? Because if it's not good and it's not working for you, then you're not on the right path for you. And just set aside everything else and just look at who you are and concentrate on working on yourself.
Wow.
So if you are a Christian and you are struggling, you have to look in and trust God to help you through it all. You can't trust anyone else. It has to be just you and the Lord. And I think that's what it was. It was the fact that I couldn't do it myself and I needed him to help me through it. You always see flaws in other people and you can't change that.
Right.
There's nothing you can do to change that. You have to trust God to do that for you. You just have to concentrate on you and make yourself a better person. And I think it's from there that the other person will most likely change because they see that you're willing to do something for yourself.
Wow.
That's how our life has changed, is I've had to trust the Lord and pray. Prayer is so powerful. He changes situations. And, yeah, you can't win everything, every battle. You have to let some things go sometimes.
Wow.
And just, be in the moment at the time, I think. That's where I was at a lot, was in the moment with the Lord at that time. And so, yeah, I built my relationship with Jesus before I was able to build my relationship with Tom and the children.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome, Lou.
Yeah, it is.
Man, you got a beautiful family. And, yeah, I can't wait to hear Tom testify and do the same thing with him.
Funny.
He'll be awesome. But thank you for your vulnerability and openness, and it's powerful. I know you'll encourage anyone who listens to this. Yeah.
Sure.
So, thanks, Lou.
All good.
Love you guys.
Yeah.
Love you guys.
Thanks, Louella.
Thank you.